Welcome to Your Health is Your Wealth. My name is Argo Duenas, and I'm your host for today. I'm also the owner of Back to Nature Health and Wellness Center, a local holistic center that has served the Baltimore, D.C., Virginia area for over 30 years. The mission of this program is to not only to provide health promoting and life-changing information, but to present positive images and inspiring interviews. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I have as my very special guest a young lady truly who is my shero. This young lady has endured traumatic events, life-threatening events at an early age, and today she is here to share her powerful story of not only overcoming life-threatening events and trauma, but also her most recent bout with a rare form of breast cancer. She is from Annapolis, a native Annapolitan. She's my shero. This young lady's faith, her willpower to live, her strong belief in a power much greater than herself, her determination, and her grit has been an inspiration to all of us here in Annapolis. So I want to thank you, Angel, for taking time out from your schedule today to be with me to share this powerful story of overcoming with using the power of your mind, your mental attitudes, and also your spiritual practices.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, my darling.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you so much.
You're welcome.
And it's true, you are my shero, Angel.
I know.
I see you, and in fact, I've known you probably before you knew me.
Exactly, yeah.
Because we came from the same community, and I know your mom and your dad and your family. I want you to sort of go back in time,
Okay.
and I want you to tell us something about your early childhood, your family, and the community that you grew up in.
I was born a miracle child, weighing in at 2 pounds 2 ounces as a result of Agent Orange.
Wow.
My father is a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah.
My parents both raised me together here in Annapolis.
Right. Okay. I remember, because I know your mom,
Yes.
and I know your dad, and you are now
47.
47.
Yes.
So back in the day, 2.5 pounds, right?
Yes.
You are a warrior. You are a fighter. You were determined to be here.
Exactly.
And you have a purpose, and you're living your purpose right now because
Still
you're
fighting through it.
and you're sharing your powerful story today. I know your grandma.
Yes.
And the whole community that we came from, which was the old Fourth Ward.
Okay.
Now, earlier we were talking about role models. Can you tell us about some of your role models when you were in elementary school? And what were some of your dreams, goals, and aspirations as a child? Early
One of my
adult-
most vivid role models in elementary was my 6th grade teacher, Miss Evelyn Henderson. I looked up to her, and she guided me to want to do much more than just what I was doing in school. We would have private conversations on what are you going to do when you leave here.
Okay.
So that kind of made me stay focused and want to venture out to be more than I was just settled to be as someone who was in the 6th grade.
Okay, so you went to Germantown.
I did.
Okay, and then you went to what junior high school?
I went to Bates.
And then from
Bates
there,
Junior High, and
you
then
went-
I went to Annapolis Senior High.
All right. You talked about we had a conversation off camera at your home, and you talked about daydreaming. Did you ever daydream when you were younger?
I always daydreamed. I was always an introvert, kind of mostly stayed to myself as an only child.
Right.
Those instances of me daydreaming put me at a different higher level and a different conscious state to take me where I wanted to be in the future. Like, let me just dream about this is what I want. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to be.
Daydreaming is very powerful. I've been listening to Esther Hicks. She channels an entity called Abraham, and to be able to daydream, you're actually projecting, because we know that in the here and now.
Right.
Okay, we have the power to do that.
Exactly.
Way beyond our present situation or circumstances. You embarked on a journey of self-discovery.
I did.
You left Annapolis.
Yes.
Annapolis, of course, we know is a small town. Back in the day,
Right.
our communities were segregated, right?
Okay.
Back in my day. And so we were sort of locked in, and it was very little culture. I remember going to D.C. Oh, God, I was so happy to be able to go to a city where there were people from other ethnic groups and cultures. So you had this desire to embark on a journey to see the world outside of Annapolis, right?
Absolutely.
So you went to Atlanta, and tell me about your experience there. You went to school there.
Yeah, as a young adult, I went to Atlanta, lived on my own for about 2 years. I went to DeVry Institute of Technology, where I was majoring in information systems and business operations.
Okay.
Through that journey of me trying to find myself as a young adult, I found that I found a fonder interest in medicine.
Okay.
So I enrolled in Sanford Brown.
Okay. All right. Now, and you were there for how long?
A total of 3 years back and forth.
Okay. Along your journey, okay, we all are on life's journey.
Yeah.
Angel, you shared with me that you had some very traumatic experiences.
Absolutely.
And some of them were even life-threatening.
Yes.
Would you share them? We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to go into the health part about your most recent bout with this rare form of breast cancer.
Okay.
But I'm just wanting to give my viewers a sense of who you are.
Okay.
The strong, introverted young woman
Yeah.
who definitely has the power of tapping into the power within and moving forward with your life and being an inspiration to all of us, even though you don't think you are, but you truly are.
Okay.
Okay. So, talk about some of these traumatic events that really have, I think, prepared you to take each stumbling block and make it a stepping stone for your own personal growth and development.
Okay. I am a single mother to my child, and that is resulting from me living with someone that I experienced domestic violence with. That kind of made me look forward to what I wanted and what I did not want.
Absolutely.
What I would do and what I would not put up with as a woman.
Absolutely.
There was at some point in my life where working in these different specialties of medicine where I interned, I would say psychiatry was my most favorite one. I worked for FBI's top psychiatrist in Washington. At that time, I was diagnosed with a form of psychosis, which resulted in intentional poisoning. 3 of his staff members were poisoned. I was living in Millersville at the time, where through a private investigator, it was proven that some people staged as maintenance men and tainted my food. That gave me a mental spiral down.
Interesting. So, when did you experience that, Angel?
That was in 2010.
Okay. So you said you were in the field of medicine and you worked for 26 different specialties, right? So this, you say, intentional poisoning happened.
It happened.
And where did it happen?
It happened at my home, and it happened from the government.
And you were hospitalized?
I was.
How did you make it through that?
I was placed.
Were you at Shepherd Pratt?
Yeah. I was put in a mental institution for more than 30 days.
Was there any investigation that took place as a result of this particular claim?
Yeah, I reached out to different people, 2 private investigators. I was there for so long because I refused to take the medication.
Okay.
I refused to take the medication, being as though I worked with 2 of the pharmacologists who made most of the medication. 3 of the medications they wanted to put me on.
Okay.
But I refused because I knew the side effects from it.
Okay. And why do you think that was done?
It was done because one of the doctors that I was working for, he was helping a lot of Americans get off of opioids, heroin addictions. He helped them cope with sexual abuse, traumatic instances.
Right.
We were targeted.
Okay.
We were targeted from the government because this particular man was so prominent in helping people cope and deal with being in such dark places. And once you have a lot of knowledge as to how to help people, you become a target. So not only was the doctor targeted, so was his staff. Because of the things that we were doing.
Are there any what year was this?
This was in 2013.
Any ongoing investigations? Were anyone charged?
No one was. Well, a couple people, I won't say, were charged with some things, but we worked on a lot of inside classified stuff that I can't disclose.
Okay, so that was I'm sure quite an experience.
It was
to be
a
hospitalized.
big experience. Yeah.
And they put on medication.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had to take it. If I
Right.
didn't take it, I wouldn't let me come home.
Right. At what age were you? You're 47 now.
Yeah, and that was in 2010, so that was 9 years ago.
Okay. You also shared with me you were diagnosed with lupus.
Absolutely.
You had a fatal, not a fatal, but almost
Near
near-death
fatal
car accident.
Yeah.
Okay. When was that?
In 2013, I was on my way home, and someone crossed the center line and hit me head on, and I experienced a near-death experience.
Were you hospitalized?
I didn't go to the hospital. On the scene of the accident, the emergency workers had me sign a waiver stating that I didn't want to go to the hospital, that I didn't want to get in a helicopter to go to shock trauma. I clearly had a closed head injury.
Did you get a concussion?
I had a concussion.
And you went to the hospital eventually?
2 days later.
Right. Wonderful.
2 days
wonderful.
later.
Do you believe in guardian angels?
I do.
Yeah.
That's what happened at the scene of the accident. I was ascending, going up. I saw the lights. I remember hearing my grandmother's voice. 2 other people that were in my life, I remember them talking to me.
Wow.
And them telling me that my job is not done. I have work to do. It's not your turn yet.
Right.
And that's when I was trying to talk and say, you know, I have to go to work the next day. But clearly it was head trauma. My head hit the glass, the windshield broke, my cars kept spinning around, and when the car stopped, that's when the airbag imploded.
Wow.
So I had a double head injury.
Wow. And so you went to the hospital 2 days later and was hospitalized and treated for that?
I was treated for post-concussion syndrome.
Right.
2 or 3 days later, maybe, I would say maybe 2 weeks later, I was hospitalized.
So when we have traumatic injury or anything that's life-threatening, generally we have post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Correct.
Do you have any of those symptoms? Have you been treated for any of those? Because I've had several car accidents, and I tell you, today is like, oh my God, when I get on the road, when I get on the highway, I'm
anxious.
Like, yes. And I'm saying, my goodness, God, just help me to, overcome
Get
this.
where I need to go.
Right. But overcome the PTSD, right?
I do have PTSD. I have PTSD. I think back of different forms of abuse that I experienced. I have PTSD thinking about being in that institution where I was one who would send people there, or work with a physician who would send people there.
Right.
And now me being in that place, it just opened my eyes to reality.
Absolutely.
I was on the other side of
I can
reality.
I definitely can relate, because I worked at Crownsville State Hospital many years ago, and it was there that I had a defining moment that I can't do this.
Right.
I give me another a road to travel.
Okay.
And that's how I embarked on a journey to heal myself of certain health issues that I had, but also traumatic stress.
Yeah.
So now let's move on to your recent diagnosis of breast cancer.
Okay.
When were you diagnosed with the breast cancer?
I found my lump August the 20th, 2018.
And at what age?
I was 45
Okay. And when did you start getting mammograms?
at age 40.
At age 40.
At age 40.
So you found a lump.
I found
It's
a lump
okay.
a week before my yearly mammogram.
Okay. So you got mammograms on a yearly basis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So sort of walk us through this process. Arnie.
At home, just a regular normal day working from home. I getting dressed and I found a palpable lump on my left side. I'm thinking, okay, this is not normal.
So you did your self-exams all the time?
Actually,
being in the medical?
I did them sometimes in the shower.
Right.
But not as much as I did.
Okay.
Having my mammogram scheduled the next week, I called the same day to get me in to find out what was going on.
Okay.
They got me in the same day. I had a mammogram and a sonogram. Having been worked in the medical field, they had me sit, and I'm like, this is not normal. Something's going on. When the when the doctor came back in, she said, we're going to give you a call in 2 or 3 days, see what the result is.
Okay.
So I sat in a waiting room, but another doctor came out and told me, we're going to probably schedule you for a biopsy. We see some abnormality.
Okay.
So the biopsy was scheduled 3 days later. A doctor that I interned in and worked for in medicine called me with the biopsy results.
Okay.
And she said, Angela, you have grade 3 in situ ductal carcinoma.
Okay. All right. So what was your reaction, Arnie?
I thought I was dreaming. I was like, this cannot be happening. When I took an emotional, I began to get emotional when she started telling me things that I would have to do. She's like, you may have to have a mastectomy. And I'm thinking, maybe if you found a lump, can we just do a lumpectomy? She was like, no, not with the type of cancer you have. And she was asking me about my family history. Is there anyone in my family with cancer? Not to my knowledge. She said, well, we're going to have to send you for some genetic testing and see what happens. So I had genetic testing done, and I also tested positive for the BRCA2 gene.
So tell me about the BRCA2 gene.
That's a genetic gene that I inherited from my father's side of the family.
Okay. And Angelina Jolie had the same.
She did.
She did. And that's why she had the total mastectomy.
Exactly.
Mastectomy.
Double mastectomy.
Double mastectomy. Okay. So you agreed to have the bilateral.
Yeah, after I had like 4 different opinions. I wanted to make sure that I was doing the right thing.
That's good.
And that I wasn't making a mistake.
Absolutely.
Or that the results were correct.
Absolutely.
That it was what I was told.
Okay.
So having been told that with the kind of cancer that I have and the BRCA2 gene that I tested positive for, I elected to have both breasts removed.
Okay.
Because not only with chemo and radiation, if I had just completed that and the cancer came back, it would just be too much to go through.
Okay. So at the same time that you had the double mastectomy, you said you also had reconstruction.
Yes.
Okay. So
reconstruction
how
started.
did that work for you? How did that?
With the double mastectomy, both breasts were removed and tissue expanders were placed in my chest to keep my chest wall open and to have saline placed in every 2 or 3 weeks to prepare me for the final reconstruction.
Right. Arnie, you've been through so much, my dear, and you're still standing.
Yeah.
Yes, and you're still smiling, and you give us hope. You really do. So after you had the reconstruction, then you got the radiation, and the chemotherapy.
Radiation.
Chemotherapy first.
Chemo.
For how long?
Chemo. I did 6 months of chemotherapy.
Okay. How does your body respond to the chemotherapy?
I had every side effect probably in the book. Of course, we know you lose your hair. I had lost feeling in both hands and feet.
Neuropathy.
I have neuropathy.
Okay.
I still suffer from that.
Mm-hmm.
My fingernails and toenails were starting to come off.
Oh my. Mm-hmm.
My blood counts dropped,
Mm-hmm.
and that put me in the hospital at one point.
Right, right.
When I started the radiation, I did get second-degree burns,
Mm-hmm.
which my body is still healing from that.
Wow. So you had chemotherapy for 6 months.
6 months.
And the radiation for how long?
I went to radiation every day for 6 weeks.
Every day for
Every single day
for 6 weeks. Okay. My. God is good.
He is.
Awesome. And you are too. Angel, can
Yes.
you share with our viewers how your mental attitudes, your spiritual practices, and your healthy lifestyle helped you to heal and helped you to reverse this, this dreadful condition?
Through this journey alone, I basically I wanted to reach out to different groups. But going to those groups, it kind of put me more emotional, just seeing what they were going through. So I still stayed introverted to stay to myself through it. I had to put myself in the middle of everything that I was dealing with. I embraced spiritual insight, placed myself on a higher conscious level with God. This was between me and Him.
Right.
Get me through this part again.
Right.
And through a lot of meditation, prayer every day, and staying positive and focused.
Right.
That's what got me through it every day.
You were telling me, you said you would get up and say, okay, I got to get up out of here. You drove yourself to University of Maryland to get your chemotherapy by yourself?
Yeah. My dad went with me twice, but throughout the whole 3 times. Throughout the whole journey, I drove to Baltimore every day.
Wow, to get the chemotherapy.
To get the chemo.
Wow, and that can be
And
very
back.
draining, and because we
it
know
was.
chemotherapy is very toxic. It kills the bad cells, but
And the
also
good ones as well.
the good cells, right? So, what was your attitude like? Because you were saying
I have to get up. I looked at it as it was a job. It was a job to save my life. I would get up, get dressed every day as if I was the doctor.
Okay.
You know, I sat beside the doctors, not only with them guiding me and saving my life, I was in on the research with what they were doing as well.
Wonderful.
I had to take control of that so I wouldn't be blindsided to what I would be facing.
What was your diet like when you were going through this?
I did lose 10 pounds the first time throughout it, but I did not lose my appetite.
Right. Okay.
My appetite increased.
Right. Okay.
I did cut out a lot of fried foods.
And sugar.
And more, I cut back on sugar.
Okay.
I should not have any sugar to this day, but I cut back on sugar.
Right.
More vegetables, more fruit and vegetables.
Exercise.
I couldn't really get a lot of exercise in with the chemo.
But mental
exercise, I was there with prayer and meditation.
Now, you have written a book. You started writing this book called The Total Call.
Correct.
Before you got the breast cancer.
Yeah, I started writing this book when I was in Atlanta in 2005.
Okay,
when
can you
moved back.
give our viewers, because we only have a few minutes left, and I really want to get a plug in for our viewers also to make sure you get your mammograms starting at age 40.
Correct.
And get them once a year.
Yeah.
For early detection. And men also get breast cancer. So it's important that we eat healthy, try to stay away from sugar, and try to eat real live whole foods and have a positive outlook on life like you do. So tell us about the book. Give us a brief synopsis of your book, The Total Call.
It's going to be about embracing knowledgeable insight, educating yourself spiritually. I want to touch in on government cover-ups, how to eat while living. I'm going to touch in about different things that cause cancer. And I would like to speak more on revolutionary resolutions, things that we're dealing with today in politics, with the FDA, the DEA, the government, genetically modified foods.
Absolutely.
I'd like to touch in on how we should be more conscious on how we define loving each other.
Absolutely. You want to elaborate on that a little bit more? Loving one another and loving ourselves.
And loving ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
we just have to learn to first love yourself,
Mm-hmm.
so that we know how to pass it on to others.
Any final comments?
Oh, you
In
got me
terms
there.
of, no, that's okay. Just speak your heart. Speak your truth. It's about breast cancer and overcoming life's challenges.
Overcoming life's challenges and dealing with breast cancer, it basically redefined me into who I am today.
Praise God. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any comments for our viewers? What would you want to say to them right now, Arnie? Speaking from your heart.
Me being one who has experienced so much in my life, I'm inspired to tell my testimonies of truth, to be able to inspire everybody who's gone through anything to not be shamed or silenced, to come forward and just know that you're not alone.
Thank you so much for being my special guest, my sister. You are truly my shero.
Thank you.
And it took a lot for you to do this.
It did.
But you came forth and you're speaking your truth, and you are a light in our community with grace, dignity, honor, and grit.
Thank
I
you.
love you, love
I
you,
love you
love
too.
you, love you, Arnie. And thank you for watching Your Health is Your Wealth. In this very present moment, remember, we do have the power to take charge of our life and our health. And have an amazing day.
Thank you.
Thank you.